I think we're ready. I'm going to find my notes and then we're going to start. Hold on 1 minute. No, I think it's good to have the lights because, I need to help also. So the first thing, the lights, I think we should leave the lights on.
I have to put in the presentation.
Okay, okay.
And then I have to put like, right here.
Do you want to like have the notes on the bottom or no? You don't need the notes.
No, I
Okay.
don't need the notes.
Okay, then that's all you need. So let me get my notes and then I'm ready. Hold on 1 minute. Where did I put my notes?
It's good morning, right?
Good afternoon.
Good morning, it's still good morning.
True. Okay. This from. Okay, I'm just gonna use my computer.
Can you ask me to stop?
Yeah. Okay. It's time to start. So please, everyone, give your attention to Pamela, and let's begin.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Pamela Vasquez, and today I will talk about the American Dream and poetry. So, in poetry and the American Dream unit, I learned about figurative language, interviewing adults, and taking notes. I also read a book independently and make notes on every page, and I learned about American Dream myths and realities. So, figurative language includes similes, metaphors, and personification. So, I use figurative language to do my English test, the American Dream poem, and also when I did Casey. Learning more about this impacted me because now when I read a poem or book, it's more easy for me to understand the author's feeling. And also, as you see, I put Casey right here because I saw it on the Casey, the figurative language, so it helped me to answer the questions really well on the Casey. And it connects to my life because I want to graduate high school and I want to go college. I want to get my high school diploma, and to get my high school diploma, I have to pass Casey. So that's why it's really important for me. One idea I learned more about in this unit is American Dream myths and realities. So for this project, I interviewed adults and I took some notes. And this project is about people's opinions about the American Dream. So this made an impact of my life because before interviewing adults, I had a different perspective about the American Dream. So before I thought that the American Dream was real, but now I think that the American Dream is not real for many people. And one of the reasons is because, for example, immigrants and many people does not have education. And for example, if you're an immigrant, it's really difficult to find a job, and if you find it, they pay you the minimum. So it's really difficult to live in San Francisco, like working and they paying you like the minimum salary because the rent in San Francisco is really expensive. So that's one of the biggest reasons. And also I add a metaphor right here that it says dream are school because you have to work really hard to achieve them. To achieve your dreams. So I also learned about interviewing adults and taking notes. So this means that I interview adults and I take notes about what they say and what they think about the American Dream, and also what they feel. Learning more about this impacted me because I want to be a psychologist. So for being a psychologist, I have to listen and write at the same time other people. And also this impacted me because now I can hear other people and also I can understand their feelings and I can give some advice to them. So I learned to be really more patient, listen to other people. That is really important to me for take this career. Writing figurative language. So I use figurative language when I did my English essay, when I did my college and career narrative essay, and also when I wrote the American Dream poem with my classmate. So by creating figurative language, it was more easy for me to understand books when I'm reading. So for example, I wrote the Fault in Our Stars book. So it's helped me to understand more the author's feeling, and one of the best ways to learn English is by reading. So for me, it was really helpful to read books. Reading a book independently and making notes on every page. So for this project, we have to read a book independently almost every day. So we have to take notes and write almost a small summary on every page. So learning more about this impacted me because when I wrote this book, there were many words that I didn't understand before. So what I did was translate them or look at them at the Casey Glossary, that you guys know where is the Casey Glossary, right? And for example, yeah, it's helped me to learn a lot of many new vocabulary words. So now I know what they mean and help me to grow. So using academic language in a group conversation about the American dream. So this means that we have a debate with a small group of people, and we were like having a discussion about the American dream, and we were sharing our ideas and feelings about the American dream with a small group of people. But having a conversation with a small group of people helped me to improve my English, because it helps me to communicate with other people, like for example with my classmates, to get a really good job, or for example when I'm working in, like for example, I will give you my example. So I'm working for environmental department, so it connects to my life because my mentor, it doesn't speak Spanish, so I have to communicate with her in English. So that's why for me it's really important. So in conclusion, now I'm able to understand figurative language, which includes similes, metaphors, and personification. And now I'm able to understand what people think about the American dream. And it totally changed my perspective, as I said, because now I think that the American dream is not real for many people. And questions?
Okay, thank you. So if you have some questions on the pink paper, you can ask some questions on the pink paper. I will give you some copies. I will give it to you. So you can also ask any questions. Where are So I would like for at least one person on the group. Every person that is in this group should ask one question or more. And here are some example questions. We're looking at the first part, right? You guys have one here? Okay. We can look at the example questions in the first part. Okay, who can start us with a question?
How do you find the theme of a poem or history?
So the theme of a poem or history is the main idea of a poem or history.
How you find it?
So it's okay, so you have like to understand the book or the history, and it's like the theme, it's almost like the conclusion. So
Can you give an example from one of the poems that we read or one of the stories that we read, and how did you find the themes of the poem or the story? Like, can you talk about one specific story or poem? Do you remember?
The one that we was okay, so we made a poem, right? With my group and we made a poem. So we like create an history, and then at the end we put like with italics words, we put like don't give up, the beginning is always the hardest part. So it shows what the poem means. Like, so it means that the poem for the person was a person who lives in New York and works really hard. And it means that it says that don't give up, the beginnings is always the hardest part. So that's the theme, and we put it with italics words.
So that's a good example of like how you write the theme or how you create a theme. But what about when you're reading a poem or you're reading a story? Can you give an example of one of the poems or stories where you found the theme? Like we looked at like or maybe the enter question stories or the interpreter melody stories or the different poems about the American dream. Can you remember one where you tried to find the theme, or maybe from a Casey or from Casey practice where you tried to find the theme? Do you remember? Like, do you always look? So, for example, you said at the end of the poem, your group wrote like a message at the end, like a conclusion. Mm-hmm. That was like that's one way you can include the theme. When you look for the theme when you're reading, do you always look at like the end of the poem or the end of the story to find the theme, or how do you find it?
Like sometimes, for example, in a book, there is a page like right here that tells you about what is the book about. Mm-hmm. So it can also be like the theme, like the main idea of the book. So you can find it like right here in the books.
That can help you. It's true. What if you don't have that? Like on a Casey, like you don't have that, right? If you have a poem or a story and you don't have like that part of the book, how can you find the theme if you don't have that? What? Let me ask a different way.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Okay, here's a different way to find it. Is the theme something that you use inference, you use like to guess like yourself, like the idea is in your head after you read? Or is the theme like you find it in the poem and you say, aha, here it is? So is the idea in your head, or is the idea in the,
I think
do you understand?
It's in my head because after I read the poem or like book or something like that, so I make like a little conclusion, and that's like how I create a theme.
Like in your head, you make a
in my
conclusion.
head, yeah.
Okay. Great, thank you. That's helpful. Another question?
Why do people use figurative language?
So people use figurative language to create poems or books, like in a more creatively way. Like for example, if you add imagery to a book or poem, you will feel the author's feeling when he created a book. For example, when I wrote my essay on chemistry class, I remember that day when I was sitting on the park smelling the sweet pupusas. So it makes the book or poem like more interesting. So
Can I ask that example? That's a really good example. It's really nice when you use examples. So I was sitting in the park and I smelled the sweet smell of pupusas. What's that an example of?
imagery.
Aha, okay. More questions?
Me. What surprised you when you talk about the American dream with other students and with adults?
So it surprised me because, to be honest, I interviewed the teachers in this school. So they start saying that for many people it's not true because we live in this country. It's not like the same equality. So sometimes it can be like like as I said in my presentation, because we are immigrants, so it's really difficult to find a job and to live in a better way. So sometimes it's kind of, you have to have a really good education, and sometimes it's like there's kind of discrimination in this country. So it totally changed my mind, so now I think totally different how I think before.
I have another question. What will you do differently to try to create a strong tone when you're performing your group's poem?
So with my group, like my poem was not really clearly, but I think like we should add, as I said, more imagery, like to other people to understand more and feel more our poem.
Algo metaphors.
It can be also, but in my poem I already added similes and metaphors. So I think I will add more like imagery to make the poem more interesting and to understand it. Because as I said in the last example, you can like, if I'm saying like I was sitting in the park smelling the pupusas and how the wine come to my head and all of those things, you can make a photo in your head imagining all of those things that happened to me. So it will be more interesting to you to read.
Okay, one last question.
Why do people use figure images?
We did that one.
How is similar different from a metaphor?
So simile are different from metaphors because in similes you use like or as, and in metaphors you use it. So for example, one example if a metaphor is Gonzalo is a monkey. So one example of a simile could be I like to eat ice cream as a kid, for example, because I put as a kid. So comparing with Gonzalo, I didn't add as or like, right? So yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.